Do you feel like every stamp and coordinating die set gives you the same card over and over? The problem isn't that you're not creative. It's that you're just not thinking about what other tools you may already have and how to apply them to your cards. Today I'm showing you how to turn one coordinating stamp and die set into 4 completely different designs using tools you probably already have in your stash. I'll walk you through the first 2 cards on camera, but stay tuned because the second card has 2 unexpected twists, and I'll also show you the other 2 designs and a bonus card I created with the same set. Now let's get into it. Hi, I'm Jeannie Scott. Welcome to the Upper Craft Room, where we make a mess and create something beautiful out of it. The first thing we're doing is getting our backgrounds ready. I'm inking up 2 panels, and on this panel I'm using Gina K Designs Dark Lilac. I always put a layer of ink down first and let that soak in, and then add more ink on top when I'm creating my colored backgrounds. This creates a deep, rich color. And if you watch any of my videos, you know that I like the backgrounds inked up better than I do colored cardstock. Once I'm finished my inking, I take the leftover ink on my surface and smoosh it with another piece of cardstock, which gives me 2 panels for the price of 1. Now I'm creating my second panel, and this time I'm using Gina K's Medium Orchid. I chose these colors because I love how vibrant they are. Now I'm doing the same thing, ink smooshing all the color onto another piece of cardstock, and that gives me 4 panels to work with. I actually got 2 Smoosh Backgrounds from the purple, so I have 5 panels now. Now here's where things really get fun. I brought in a background die I just recently purchased from Gina K Designs. This one is the Ornate Frames die. I usually cut out a bunch of backgrounds from my stash, but I knew I wanted to use this one. I really like this one, and I feel like I could use it for a lot of different cards. I die cut 2 from the smush panels we did, and then off camera I cut out 2 more from panels I had smushed a few weeks ago. By the way, look at that design in the centerpiece. I definitely will be using that for something. I love how detailed this die is, and yet those little pieces just pop right out without any problems. Now I'm using Master Layouts from Gina K Designs to cut out the solid panels for the backgrounds of my frames. I'm just putting things together to get a visual for how things are going to look, but I think the color's too much, so I'm going to add a white panel for the back of the frames because I think that really makes things pop. And again, I'm just playing around and laying all the pieces together I have cut to see how it should be built up. What pieces will I use and how will I create my layout? I don't usually use a template for my layouts. Once I have everything cut out, I let the design take shape and tell me where things should be placed. When I started this, I didn't even think about those pieces from the center of the die. That just adds so much more to the design. This is called the Ruffle Blooms 3D bundle that I'm using, which I purchased last year and I haven't used yet in one of Gina K Designs kits that she puts out almost every month. Look at that dimension. I love 3D folders. And also, so you know, she really adds a lot of value to her kits, and even though you can't get this as a kit, everything I'm showing you is available on her site. I'll leave all the links in the description. However, the system that I use for creating multiple cards from one set can likely be done from things that you already own. Here I'm using the stencil that comes with the Ruffle Blooms 3D folder and coloring with Gina K Designs light, medium, and dark lilac for the flowers. I'm putting down the light lilac color first and then going back in and inking the centers with dark lilac. That really creates more depth to the flowers. I inked up the centers of the flowers with Lemon Drop and then Lucky Clover and Fresh Asparagus for the leaves. And now the reveal. Ah, stop it. Come on. That is just beautiful. I've already inked up my second die cut with the light, medium, and dark orchid, again by Gina K Designs, and I brought back in my other pieces. I'm laying them out once again just to get a visual now that my focal point is ready to be put on display. I cut that outer edge so perfectly that I decided I could use it on the outer edge of the card base and use that centerpiece that I love so much in the center of the frame. Even though not much of it will show, it will still create some extra interest. And now it's time to start assembling. And I'm bringing in, this is a new tool that I got. This is the glue press. I haven't tried it before, but I think I like it for certain things, but I don't like it for everything. I'm going to be honest. I go back to the Barely Arts Precision Glue because I feel like I have more control. But I do think that if you have arthritis or trouble with your hands, that something like a glue press would be helpful. Now I've got that outer edge glued on, and I just think that looks great. And now you'll notice that I'm taking a dark pigment pen. This is just a pigment pen, but you can use any pen to mark off where I'm going to cut, so that way I can keep it straight and I don't have to worry about if I'm going to get that in the right place or not. And now I'm just gluing that frame to that white cardstock. You know, this is exactly why I focus so heavily on tools, and I feel like a frame die like this is a tool. And instead of just collecting more sets, when you can understand how to use the right tools in the background, one stamp in a die set can give you way more than you think. Now I'm gluing that on, and then I'm going to cut it off after it's glued on. I was just so worried about, you know, making a mistake and not getting it in the perfect spot where I wanted it. Here I'm deciding if I want to leave those flowers hanging off the edge of the card like that, or if I want to cut them down to where the frame is so more of the frame shows. I like the flowers hanging off. I was just concerned that if I end up mailing this, that it would be hard to fit into an envelope. So ultimately I end up cutting those down. After cutting off those edges of the flowers and getting that lined up, I was trying to decide if I was just really having a hard time deciding if I wanted to use that solid panel to separate the lighter colors from the darker ones, but ultimately I ended up not using it. I don't know why, I really liked it, but I chose not to. You can see that I left some of the stems hanging over the bottom just to create some interest because I didn't want to have it so boxed in all around the card. And now I'm adding this sentiment that says, sending you a long distance hug. This is going to be for my daughter-in-law's birthday. That's coming up in June. They live in Colorado. And that wraps up our first card. And now we're on to our second card. Now this card, there's a couple of twists. I'm here again, you know, doing my visual. This is how my brain thinks. I just start laying things out and try to get a visual of how I want this to go. But this card's going to take a couple of twists. It's really interesting how the design will tell you what it wants. I mean, it's kind of fun to let the design just be in control. So here I did use the center, and I think that created a little bit of separation and helped with the interest of the card. So while I'm gluing this panel down, well, not panel, this frame down onto the panel, I'm thinking, you know, how can I make this different? I don't want this to look exactly the same as the other card. I want this to be different. Now I am adding that purple piece behind it, and I'm not going to add a frame around it, so it will be a white card. So it's already different, plus I'm adding the centerpiece, so it will be a little different. And then I'm going to take the flowers. I don't want to put the flowers in the same spot, so I'm moving it all around the card, like, how can I make this different? And then I start thinking, what if I just cut this flower apart? And so I did. I grabbed my scissors and I start taking this completely apart. Like I'm just detaching it, cutting it where it's attached at. And I'm just getting out as much of the flower as I can. Now those leaves are kind of like intertwined with the stems, so I have to work around that. But it's really fun how this comes together. So again, I'm just cutting all around and getting it all detached, and so that those flowers are just separated from one another. And now, isn't that pretty? Just that alone is so pretty. So now I'm trying to, you know, I think I'm going to go into the upper right corner, and I put it there, but I have another turn and a twist for you. It's really just exciting because I think this is going to go to the top of the card and wait and see what happens. So now I'm just cutting off those edges and I'm going to glue it down and decide where those other pieces are going to go. And I just am moving it all around because I just can't decide, like, do I want these at the bottom, at the top, where do I want those? I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. I just know it's like a puzzle. I'm just putting together a puzzle so that I can create something gorgeous. You know, the upper craft room is where we create something. What do? We make a mess and then we create something beautiful out of it. So, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. I'm just making a mess and I'm going to create something beautiful out of it. So I'm just attaching those pieces wherever I think the design tells me they look good, right? So I'm just moving it here, moving it there, cutting pieces off. And the more I cut off, the more I'm thinking, am I really going to be able to do something with this? And so I am, just wait till you see what happens. It's really fun. All right, so now I'm going to glue that up in that left corner there. And again, look what happens. I turn it the other way, and I really like it because I couldn't decide where that last flower was going to go. And I fussed with it I cut all that out because I fussed with it forever until I turned it upside down, which is now right side up, and I put that flower at the top. And look at how gorgeous that is. Isn't that just so pretty? And so, now I'm taking some leaves and I cut out all those leaves, and I'm just trying to figure out, I know we need more leaves around the flowers up at what's now the top of the card. So I'm just moving those around and cutting out pieces and just making them work, just making it all work together. So don't be afraid to do that, because remember, this is only cardstock. You got ink involved. You're not invested so much, and this is fun play. This is creative play. And so I'm just, having a lot of fun. And in the end, I ended up scrapping it. I had fun, and I cut some cardstock up. I wasted a little bit of cardstock and some ink, but it didn't turn out bad. It turned out really, really good. And so what I did ended up working, and it's a completely different card. It doesn't even look like the ruffled blooms anymore. Of course, the flowers look the same, but they're not in the same orientation. They're not attached. They're totally in different spots on the card. I mean, it's a completely different card using the same die, the same frame, the same stamp set, the same everything, right? All I did was cut those apart and not put some of the pieces on and put some other pieces where they weren't on the other card. And now it's just a completely different card. However, it could be a set because they look like they go together. So here are the 5 cards that we created. I cut another set apart and created that first card. Then there's that second card where I didn't use any of the frame or anything behind it. The third card is completely different because I used the other Smoosh background. And then the fourth card, of course, is the one we created. The fourth and fifth card are the ones that we created together. And they're all different. They could be a set. Actually, the second one looks like it's a completely different card. I just keep moving these around. Hey, if you're still watching, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. And if you enjoyed this video and found value in it, give it a like so YouTube will tell other card makers about it. Subscribe so you never miss a video, and hit the bell so that you get notified every time we put one out. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.